Okay, we are here with my friend and brilliant messaging strategist, Jen Liddy, and we're here to talk about what Jen does. I really want Jen to talk a little bit about her work with voice, especially in the age of AI, and also about her experience in the pre-launch plan program. So Jen, thank you so much for being here. Please tell everyone a little bit about you.
Yeah, my name is Jen Liddy. I've been in the online world for a long time, and really, my favorite thing to do is just I'm in one lane of marketing. I help you figure out how to talk so your audience will lean in and go, "Yes, I need that," and how to sound like yourself, the real you, when you do it. That's basically, and then I get you your messaging, I get you your brand voice, and then I move you on to either you do it yourself or somebody else can help you. But basically, in the age of the robots, we really need to be able to sound like ourselves. And because the playing field has been so flattened, everybody can create content now. We have to create really great content. And so having your messaging done, which feels like a super foundational thing that like nobody wants to do, but it really is often the thing holding people back from having content that lands on their audience's ears.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's why like the first 1 to 2 modules inside the pre-launch plan program, we talk about messaging because it is so important.
Yes.
And I noticed too, it's like people, like you said, either they don't want to do it or they think that they have done it. And yeah, exactly. They think they
Boom, boom,
had, and
boom.
I can't tell you how often someone's like, but I don't need that module. And I'm like, okay, just go through it for fun.
Promise you do.
And it's funny. I was going through today the testimonials to add to the sales page for the next round of the pre-launch plan program. And how many people on that were like, my messaging, I got clear on my messaging. And I think it's just such an important thing that people don't realize that is actually, I'm speaking at social media marketing world, and it's a tiny bit of my talk because it's like we're everyone's out like trying to connect, add trying to learn all these tactics, but if you don't do that foundational piece,
It doesn't
then
matter what you do.
it doesn't matter what you do. So if people are listening to us, because, and this is sometimes with people that I work with on messaging, which is like, if someone's listening and they're like, well, like, what is my messaging and how does my voice really intersect with it?
It's great. Yeah. Okay. You want me to talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny. I'm calling this the last piece of the marketing puzzle, the brand voice piece, because the last piece of the messaging puzzle is what I meant to say. It's the slice of your messaging that you could all day long find out like what exactly does your audience need to hear? How could you meet them right where they are? What are the exact words that they're using for their problem and what they want? You could have all of that. But if you don't sound like yourself, you can't or you're trying to sound like a mentor, or you're giving it all over to the AI robots, crossing your fingers. Like, none of that is going to make you recognizable online. And at this point, people are like, I need to stand out. And what I know is doing more, like, doesn't help you stand out. Being louder doesn't help you stand out. Really, the only thing that helps you stand out is like being more of who you are. And that's scary for people because, like, maybe you're private, maybe you're introverted, maybe you don't want to like bleed all over the internet in the name of vulnerability, right? So,
Right.
how can you be the real you without giving yourself fully over to it? So, the brand voice is what I call it, like your voice print. Like, you have a fingerprint, but your voice print is how, when your audience, if you put a podcast out every week, your audience presses play, like they know exactly what they're going to hear. And if something like if like there's like a road bump, they're like, oh, that's not something she normally says, or that's not how she would normally talk, or this feels totally off brand. Like, they know it. They can feel your brand voice. So this brand voice puzzle piece is almost like it's in the invisible part of your messaging that you need to freaking figure out in order to set yourself apart, so that you can also train your AI robots to sound like you so you can get their help. But there's so much, and you already know this. It's like the words that you use, the way that you put those words together, your style, the tones that are behind those words. And then there's like your personality. There's like, I have a very specific personality. There's other messaging experts out there who like have a completely different personality. And if somebody is like listens to what I say and they're like, no, she's not for me at all. Like, the good news is there's other messaging people with different personalities. And all of that needs to come through in your messaging. And it's this very subtle thing that not a lot of people know how to actually infuse into their messaging.
I totally agree. And I think right now there's so much talk of like trust recession, like that's the word
Yes,
that's been
yes.
thrown around. I don't think that people try and come off, I hate the word authentic, but I'll use it like
Yeah.
inauthentic. But sometimes we do because we're trying to like, and I catch myself doing it sometimes where I, will be looking at something and I'll be like, you know what? That doesn't sound like me. Or sometimes I have like a really like sassy moment. And then I'm like, okay, as much as I want to be a little sassy right now, that's not my brand voice. And I think if I
Totally.
send something out like that sounds too abrupt, that's not me, it might jar my audience. So it gives you
Yes,
like this
yes.
filter to go through.
That's a good way to say it. Almost like a
And
litmus test for yourself.
yeah, it is. It's definitely, and it gives you these parameters that help that really help you, and it helps you create content. It helps you, like you say, know when you're at AI and be able to go through and go, nope, that doesn't sound like me.
Yes,
And I use AI every day, and there's so much stuff that doesn't sound like me that comes out. That
totally.
if I was just copy and paste, even when I like voice text, I do a lot of voice texting lately, like on my walks for like my emails to get a rough draft. And
Mhm.
even that, the stuff I'm like, okay, use my exact words and put this into an email. Take it out of context or move
Yeah.
things around. So yeah, I just think I'm obsessed with it. And I think it's like you said, I think it's a secret edge that that people may not even realize they need right
Yes.
now in this
Yeah.
market.
But you need it when let you like look at your stuff and you're like, well, I either sound like everybody else out there in my industry, or you look at your stuff and you're like, that's how my mentor says it. I don't want to sound like him or her. Like you have to like I think this is a helpful conversation just for people to start identifying like, oh, I actually don't know my brand voice, or I don't feel confident enough in my brand voice, or like I haven't really identified it. And once you start looking at your stuff, or you're constantly changing everything that comes from ChatGPT, and it's wildly different every single time, those are indicators that your brand voice has not been defined for you.
Yeah, no, I think it's funny. I was working with a speaking coach, Heather Sager. She's
Oh yeah.
wonderful for my talk at Social Media Marketing World. And there's that, it was interesting putting this talk together.
I
It's been a
bet.
journey. It's been a
I
journey.
bet it's a lot.
That's what I'm
Ooh.
gonna say. It's been a journey, and it's been a journey in terms of sounding like myself a little
Mm.
bit because it's like I'm trying to like make sure all my T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and then Heather's just like, yeah, that doesn't sound like you at all. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're right. Like,
Yeah.
and even when I was talking to my husband, I was reading my notes. He's like, okay, start over without looking at your notes, and he's like,
Just sound like Brenna.
just sound
Yeah.
like you. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, you're right. Like, I didn't even recognize, like, I lost myself a little bit as I
Oh, but
was creating this.
you know what I think is so interesting? I know you're an Enneagram 3, the
Yes.
achiever, and the
Oh,
achiever is always like dotting the I's and crossing the T's and making sure like you get to the next level. And it's like, oh, that Enneagram 3 is creeping into, but it doesn't really need to be there.
oh, yeah, the Enneagram 3 is shown up in full force. That's all I will say. It has shown
I
up in full
bet.
force for
The
this.
achiever.
Yes, it's a rough clout we have being Enneagrams
I
3.
know
So
Enneagram 3s have it rough.
oh, it's so funny. But anyway, so let's talk because you know so much about messaging and it is part of what we do in PPP to some degree. Can you kind of talk about your journey into like why you decided to join the pre-launch plan program?
Of course. So I would like to like it occurred to me as we're having this conversation, like a messaging person with a lot of years of experience joined PPP. Like I think that alone should say
I
like
have
this
it's
is a very valuable
I
program.
have an objection email that's all about this because I have several people. It's like, I'm a marketer. I should know how to do this already. And
Yeah.
so go ahead.
And in addition to that, if you're a marketer and you already know this and you're like, oh, well, I'll just watch Brenna's emails and I'll reverse engineer it from there.
Yes.
Go ahead and try. Go ahead and freaking try because you won't be able to. So I just want to preface everything by saying that. Also, I don't launch. I have a business model that I do not do groups. I don't have an evergreen program that I don't like launching, but I have one-to-one work that I do. And so like to talk about the brand voice finders, right? Like if you want to find your brand voice, I do those in a sessions, but I only do them at certain times of the year. It kind of is a launch and I need to kind of warm people up so that by the time I'm ready to have space on my calendar. So for years I mean, I've been, you and I have been friends for a long time and I've watched the PPP launch for a long time. And I'm like, oh, I don't need that because I don't do group work. I don't do group work. But I got in there and I was like, all of this is extremely relevant to me, even though I'm a messenger, even though I get marketing, even though I'm a good linear thinker, and I thought I could reverse engineer it. Like it's incredibly valuable the way that it's broken down inside. It's like it's very, I would say it's like it's almost scientific. It's like it's you understand it in bite-sized pieces and parts so that when you put it together, it like flows. And you don't have to like do it like don't make it harder than it needs to be. Like you do all the heavy lifting. Plus, you created all of those GPTs to make it even that much easier for people. So I love that you started to harness AI too for this last round.
Yeah, I've been using AI for, but it was more prompts, and this time
Yep.
I did custom GPTs.
Mhm.
And yeah, I do think it's such a valuable asset to be able to have in, and I actually want to create, there's a couple more I want to create. I'll have time after this talk. But I just think, so when you were like contemplating if I should join or not, like what was the thing that made you go yes when you knew that you had, you were a marketer, you did all these things, all those things that you talked about?
What was it? Partially, it was you were offering that I could. This was the last round you could join where you could come back if you had questions, right? Like come back for another round. So that was like, yes, what the hell am I doing waiting for this? And I had to be real with myself about like, as much as I told myself I don't launch, I hate launching, I actually need to do a sort of kind of launch. So it was just like, I just knew this was going to be an asset that once I had access to it, and if I want to come back for the next round, I can. But once I had access to it, like I said before, I I have this now, this training. I have everything that you give, and now I can just put it into play. I can stop. Honestly, if you've been like dicking around watching that, like, yes, like the next time, like it is just freaking time to get in there. And I will also say, and this is not something that made me decide, but I think that people know or need to know is you offer incredible amounts of high touch help in there. Like you're it's not just these group coaching calls where it's generic information. Like you actually are giving people help and giving examples and like responding to people. And I knew that that's how it would be because I know you personally. But I just think people, especially in this trust recession, people need to understand like you're not going to get in there and it's not like Brenna's just giving you access to everything in the course. It's like she's there to answer your questions with examples and talking you through it. And like even if your question, sometimes the question would be so obtuse almost, but because of your ability to understand so deeply the whole breadth of what you teach, you could understand this obtuse question and like get to the heart of it. Where I don't even think sometimes the person asking the question is clear what they're asking. You know
Right.
what they're asking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. And that's why in the program, and it will be like that again, which is where you have time to really talk things out. Because I know with messaging or content or your positioning or how you're thinking about your launch, sometimes you just need to like clear your head, ask a question. And sometimes you know something's off, but you're not exactly sure like how to. So to be able to have a container where you can actually ask those type of questions, I think is so incredibly important. And it's been one of the things I actually, not actually, but really love about doing these cohort containers. So much has moved over, I think, some in online world, and there is asynchronous help as well.
Mhm.
But I think there's just, you can't replace talking to someone, asking questions, having a group of people that also can have
True.
groupthink, that I think it really makes the difference. Is there something that inside the program that really stood out to you, that you feel like, oh my gosh, this is like helped me think through?
Yes. And it was annoying to me because I was pissed off that I didn't get it at first. Um, it's like that first or second module where it's the OOO, the offer outcome.
Outstanding
Yes.
offer overview.
I was like, how? How is why don't I know this already? Why am I having such trouble articulating this? Like, that's what I mean. Like, it's pretty seminal, right? Like, it's like the stuff that you're teaching is, even if you're a marketer and you think you know everything, I promise you don't know everything, or you haven't done the work for yourself yet. So that outstanding offer outcome
Outstanding offer overview. So essentially, it's
over.
like an elevator pitch for your offers, the way that you can talk about it very clearly and succinctly that people understand what you do. And it also sounds different enough. It doesn't sound like what everyone else is doing, while also making sure that it's very specific. And so it's funny. It's like 1 to 2 sentences. And I like joke around sometimes, like sometimes it's just easy. And then other times it's like, it's the hardest 1 to 2 sentences you'll ever write for your business in a good way.
Totally. Oh, here's the sorry, the mailman is here.
No problem.
Um, that I thought, oh, I nailed that. I could do that, no problem. But it's subjective. And it is like, how do I say it so it sounds different? Like, so yeah, that for me was, and that is like right at the beginning. And so it was just like I had to unlock my brain in a new way. And so that was a really like important piece for me.
Yeah, no, it's and it's the cool part about getting this that little piece of copy down is that you start to use it everywhere. So
Mhm.
it goes on your sales page, it goes in your emails, it goes when you're on podcasts and you're talking about it and
Yeah.
people like it's something that you'll reuse again and again and again.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think because when you are an expert in your thing, you have the curse of the expert where it's like just embedded in your DNA and you're like, well, yeah, I mean, why don't people get this? So you have to say it in a way that people get it. And you also know your offer so inside and out, and you know why your offer is so valuable. But then when you bring it to the group and the group is like, yeah, I don't get it. It's like uh it's like the difference between being in a movie and being in a play, like you get immediate feedback, right? Like you're like, oh, this isn't landing. This doesn't make sense to these people who are in the room with me. That's another benefit of being part of the live group.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. And then, so as we're like wrapping up here a little bit, if someone is just like, okay, well, actually, I have one more question. I lied,
Okay.
which is on the spot, which is I want to talk a little bit because this is a question I get a lot, which is, well, I don't launch, and I know that we kind of touched on it. And can you kind of talk about what you took away from with the program on how to promote your services in a way that you're having promotional periods essentially? Because what I think most people hear, they hear launch. This isn't for you, but in general, we hear this word launch and we think, oh my gosh, this huge course launch with affiliates and webinars and challenges and all the things when
And I don't do any of that.
right. And for what and I'm actually talking about this in my talk too for social media marketing world, it's just like every company, if you start really looking at it in some
Yeah.
regard, they have promotional periods, like even Target, right? Like Apple, like all of these companies have these different promotional periods. They're just constructed in different ways. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Pre-launch content is nurturing content. If if all of a sudden it's Mother's Day and nobody anywhere has done a commercial about freaking Mother's Day, it's Sunday, May, whatever, you're like, shit, I didn't get my mother flowers. I didn't get her card. Like, nobody has done you a service if all of a sudden it's Mother's Day and there has been no pre-launch to Mother's Day. It is nurturing to let people know what's coming up. And
Okay.
so we all do nurturing content. We need to nurture our audiences, but until you start, and I did really not understand this until last year, like until you start to see pre-launch as nurturing content, you're going to open the doors and just surprise everybody, and they're not going to be ready for you. Like there's a saying, you basically get ready so you can be ready, and that's how pre-launch content nurtures your people for you, but for them too, because they need the thing you have,
Right.
and you can like let them know it's the coming attraction, and hey, you're going to want to get your tickets because the day that the doors open, it's going to be sold out, whatever like that thing might be. But I think the Mother's Day is a really good example because sometimes like something happens, I'm like, shit, oh my God, I forgot that it was whatever thing it is, and I haven't been aware of it. And that is nurturing. Making people aware is a way to nurture them.
Yep, I agree. And I think too, people, once again, this is like top of mind because of my talk. You're getting a little preview today, which is, we think, oh, people need our stuff. So when I go and announce that you can come buy it, they'll just grab it from me. And really, yes, there are problems in our lives that are like, oh my gosh, I got to get this solved like yesterday, right? There's those immediate problems. But I talk about how like almost 2 summers ago, I hurt my foot on a trip to
I
New
remember.
Jersey. And I like have been like hobbling around for a year and a half. And
But you
finally,
had plantar fasciitis, right?
no, I don't have that. I don't know, I have a weird thing with a
Oh, I thought it
joint
was
in my
okay.
foot and there's some like name that I can't pronounce, but like
Oh,
I've been going to physical therapy
oh
and
God.
finally, but this was like a year and a half of me like hobbling with pain. I can't, certain shoes don't fit anymore. I mean, but here I was in pain all this time. But right, so if we're not like thinking about that type of person, the person sometimes who's just sitting in their pain and dealing
Yes.
with it and
Yeah.
not really helping bring recognition to what the pain is costing them, how they're not thinking about their, the consequences of staying in pain, like all of these things that we have to do before someone sometimes sees an offer to get them ready. Because whether you realize it or not, and I'm speaking you collectively, is most people are not ready to buy your offer. There's things that are hanging them up. So, and wrapping this up, like if I was to say, hey Jen, like why should you invest in PPP? What would you say?
I think I've made a pretty compelling argument so far. It's Brenna gives a lot of support. It's laid out very clearly, not densely. There's so much support in there with AI tools. So it's not like you have to reinvent the wheel once it's over. It's like it's done. It's like you can put it on repeat. If you're a person who really thrives with working in a small group cohort, that is very helpful for people, but you also get personalized attention. And once you learn this stuff, nobody can take it from you, even when the market changes, which it has. I mean, you've done this for how many years now? And the market has changed greatly throughout that time. And you have, created flexibility within the program so that even when the market changes, pre-launching might look a little bit different, but essentially the roots are the same.
Yep. Yep. I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you, Jen, for being here. If someone is listening and they're like, okay, all this voice stuff was really interesting to me, where can people find you?
Yeah, go to jenliddy.com. I'm a 1N Jen, so it's just JenLiddy. You'll see my homepage and you can get in touch with me there.
Okay, thank you so much for being here.
You're
I really
welcome.
appreciate
My
you. And
pleasure.
if for anyone who's listening to this, the pre-launch plan program opens up April 9th. And so if you have any questions, hit me up in the DMs and we'll talk soon. So thanks. Bye.